Well, hello everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. Hope everybody is having an awesome day. I hope that you have had a successful and awesome week. I know that there's a lot going on and it can be overwhelming, but there's nothing that we cannot overcome. I want you to get that into your minds. Before I get started, I first of all want to thank everybody who dropped in on the previous video where I was sharing that I was on my way to my first 6-month checkup after my heart attacks. Those who don't know, who haven't followed me for that long, oh, of course they would turn that stuff on. Letting them. Sorry. All right, I'm gonna try to get through this anyway. But anyway, first of all, I want to. I had back in March, the beginning of March, I had a total of 5 heart attacks. Well, a minimum of 5. It could be as many as 6, but I had a minimum of 5 heart attacks over the course of 6 days. The last 2 were major heart attacks, ended up in a surgical procedure to unblock an artery that was 90% blocked. I have worked to regain my health, to regain my strength, to regain what appears to be some semblance of normalcy as I know it. I still have a ways to go, but I went for my checkup to the cardiologist this morning, and I shot a short video while I was on the way there to sort of talk about, where I'm at and to encourage people, because see, life isn't about the circumvention of struggle, the circumvention of pain, the circumvention of setbacks. Life is about overcoming them. Life is about standing up in the face of adversity and persevering. Life is about taking your setbacks and your knockdowns, picking yourself up off the ground and moving forward, whether it is health-wise, as in my instance with my heart attack, whether it is financial issues, whether it is business troubles, whether you are having problems in parenting, problems in relationship. Trust me, as a man, I've seen all of those days. I've seen ins and outs and frustrations of parenting. I've seen difficult moments in marriage. I've seen what it's like to have your business pushing back at you at a level and rate and intensity that you're not sure you can handle. I know what it's like to have your money look funny when there's so much that needs to be done. I've been through all of those, but I've also seen some pretty unbelievable happenings take place in my life. I've seen success in business. I've seen success in finance. I've seen success and still in experiencing success in marriage. I have some beautiful and wonderful kids that are doing some great things, and some that are coming along aspiring to do even greater things. So I know what perseverance looks like. And so I just wanted to kind of encourage you guys this morning on the way there. And at the time I was on the way, I didn't know what I was going to find out, but I was prepared for whatever it was. I was prepared for the worst news, but it wasn't the worst news. For those who didn't get to see the back end of that, where I kind of let everybody know everything's good, I want to let you guys know, who all dropped in and weighed in and sent your well wishes, that I got good news. Of course, I'm not 100% recovered. There's still some ways to go. I don't have the energy or strength to do things the way I used to. I don't have the capacity to go from 4 a.m. in the morning to 10 o'clock at night nonstop the way that I had been doing. And that was actually probably part of the problem, along with such a sedentary lifestyle of spending so much time researching, writing, and putting things together. So I've been definitely focusing on being back in the gym, focusing on getting better, riding my bike on a regular basis. And so that has been a focus of mine. But I want to thank you guys who weighed in and wished me well. The back end of that was the doctor was pleased with where I was or where I am at the current moment. There's still a ways to go. There's still some weight that needs to be lost. There's still some conditioning that needs to be done. But the news was definitely pleasant news. So again, thank you for that. I also want to remind you, for those who know about what the, thank you, Jervy. For those of you who know what the 30-day Your Best Life Challenge, Your Best Life 30-day challenge, or however you want to put it, if those who know what it is, if you participated in it last time, we're doing it one more time before the end of the year. I'm even removing my one-time only ban. The reason I do that is because I don't want people trying to use this as a way of working with me on a long-term ongoing basis. So it's normally just for people to get in to see what it's like to work with me, to get a good start on life change. 30 days is enough time to establish good habits. So if you pick several habits that you're going to get rid of, several habits that you're going to create, you can do that in that period of time. So I really want you to focus on that. I really want you to decide whether or not you want to do it. With that being said, I want to get to why I'm here, to talk to you, and kind of go ahead and get rid of it. I mean, get off of it and move on. Here we are. There's so much going on. Everybody's talking about the shooting of Jacob Blake. Here is the thing that I'm here to talk to you about now. This kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, who gets his mother to load him at his his AR-15 up in the car, drive 60 miles across the state line to go into another city, supposedly to help protect property that no one in his family owns. And it's obvious that he has a mindset that is focused on exercising what he feels to believe to be his power. There's almost like a phenotype for these mass shooters, and he qualifies as a mass shooter because he shot more than 2 people. So he qualifies as a mass shooter because he shot 3 people, 2 died, 1 lost an arm. And there's this phenotype. I was looking at it, I posted about it today, that they all have a similar look, and it's kind of weird and funny and ironic, and I'm saying funny, but not in a real comical way. But Amy, I believe her name is Johnson, the white woman who spoke at the Republican National Convention and said that she felt it was acceptable for her Black adopted son to be profiled by police because statistically he is more likely to commit a violent act than her white nerdy looking sons. And it's interesting because when it comes to white nerdy looking kids, they're more likely to be mass shooters. And so it's amazing how they have this look about them that is interesting. And I'm actually going to look into that. But what I want to talk to you about now is why, because a lot of people are saying, well, since he shot white people, why is it important to us? Why is it relevant? Why should it matter to us? Also, I want you to pay attention to what I'm sharing in the thread now. Don't forget to support the work we're doing at the Odyssey Project. Your support is definitely needed. But everybody's saying that number one is, I'm not one about the senseless taking of life, no matter whose life it is. Obviously, my first and foremost concern is my people, but any senseless taking of life should be looked at in a negative light. But that's not why I'm here. Why I'm here is the fact that you have a situation where no Black man or no 17-year-old black kid could have walked around with an AR-15 with a minimum, looks like a 30 round to a 50 round clip in it, and walk around and do and then eventually shoot 3 people while everybody's screaming, he did it, walks by the cops, waves at the cops, gets in his mom's car and goes home and goes to sleep, and gets to turn himself in the next day without any type of incident. That's the first part. That is a notion and an introduction and a peek inside of this world we live in, where we want to keep believing and hoping that some kind of way we fit, that some kind of way we can align ourselves and be an equal part of the partaking in the American dream. When the truth of the matter is, it was never created for us. We were brought here to facilitate it. And there have been unbelievable and multitudinous adjustments and evolutions to it, but slavery has simply taken on another name and taken on and given a few more perks, but we still don't experience true liberation, true power, true freedom. We still operate in a system that sees us as a liability, that sees us as the enemy, and that treats us less than human. That's the first part of it, that this kid got away with things that a black kid his age could never have gotten away with. Absolutely, under no circumstances would a black kid been able to do that. This kid looks like a kid. So the idea that at that age, he can manage the emotions and the responsibilities of being in an environment that charged. Now, yeah, you could take your kid out. Man, I started hunting with a rifle at the age of 7. And so by the age of 13 or 14, I was well schooled and versed in weapons and etiquette and safety and all of that stuff. But at that age, I still wasn't ready to be put into an electrically and emotionally charged environment with that weapon in my hand, because it's too easy to revert to it or turn to it instead of de-escalating. Anybody, especially somebody who on a normal day feels powerless, is less likely to de-escalate when they have the upper hand. Someone who has been constantly forced their entire life to de-escalate, because you can look at him, he ain't the popular kid at school, he's not the big the bad kid, he's not the jock, he's not any of that. So the respect level he gets at school is probably nil. And so now he's in a situation where he has the gun, which is power. It's the same reason why most cops kill. Most of those guys in a normal setting are nerds. Most of those guys are the kids that got picked on at school. Most of those guys are rejects in so many other areas. You got some who are really struggling mentally because they come from the military. But for the most part, these are guys that get their power from being police officers. And they struggle in their marriages. This is research. This isn't something I'm saying. This is research. You should read the book Breaking Rank by Norm Stamper. You should read the book Breaking Rank by Norm Stamper. And see what he has to say about these police officers. But anyway, the second part of that is how they're praising this kid. Ann Coulter talking about she would love to vote for him for president. This kid took 2 lives of unarmed people, took the arm of another unarmed person, walked by police, threw his hands up and waved at them like it's all good. What's happening? They let him make it. There are people, you hear the shots. So anybody that walks by with a gun at that point has to be held until it's sorted out. That will be normal protocol. But he's a white kid walking around, so it couldn't possibly be him. It's got to be someone black, because this is about a black man being shot. And the fact is, everybody involved was white. But they made all kind of mistakes. Now, it was too late to stop him, but I mean, the idea that so many things going wrong. Nobody's even talking about the fact that his mom should be actually charged because she took her 17-year-old son across state lines with a weapon that he had illegally acquired and sit up and unleashed him to rain down mayhem, and then took him home. And that needs to be dealt with. But the actual way that they're getting on code is why I'm here. I've watched this over and over and over again. The first time I saw it in grand scale online was when Darren Wilson killed Mike Brown. Darren Wilson killed Mike Brown, and there was initially a lot of push for Darren to be arrested and charged. And so that was a big push, and that was his concern that he was really going to be in trouble. White people rallied to him through GoFundMe until GoFundMe finally shut it down. That was the case that basically made it to where people who were being accused of something horrible couldn't raise funds to defend themselves on GoFundMe. That started with Darren Wilson, because by the time they shut the account down, he had already raised, just on GoFundMe alone, over $500,000. And that was them being on code. And then when you go to the site and you actually watched and read what they were saying, how they were praising him and saying that the $100 they were giving, the $200 they were giving is well spent on helping to save a patriot like him and a hero like him, and he did good, and that's how you need to light these animals up, and all these different things that were said. And it gives insight to the mindset and psyche of white America at the core. Am I saying that every white American has that level of hatred and disregard for black life? No, I know some who do not. But what I'm saying is what Muhammad Ali said 30, 40 years ago when he was being asked about the nice white people. He said, so if you got 1,000 rattlesnakes coming down a hill and they're coming towards your door, and you know that there are 5 or 10 of them that are not going to get, they're not hostile towards you, are you really going to take the time to try to figure out which ones are which? No, you're going to say that the chances are that there's at least one snake in this group that's going to harm me. And what you have to realize is they've proven that over and over again, and they've shown you the mindset they have towards us and the blatant disregard for who we are and our lives. That the idea that you're celebrating someone who killed someone, a murderer, is seen as a hero in the eyes of these people. That has to be something that we look at. And yes, I ain't even got time, Icky. I definitely want to talk about BLM, but I ain't got time for that's a whole nother topic. We're gonna talk about BLM this weekend. We're gonna talk about BLM this weekend. I just am like, the more that if for me to be speechless, you guys got to know that this is something that's really tugging at me, to listen at and read what's being said, to watch the Dems and the Republicans play and tug at our emotions and have us turned one against another behind something that has proven to be detrimental to us, regardless of who is playing the game and pretending to be on our side. We have never gained ground, no matter who was in the White House. We have never gained ground since we have started to put so much emphasis on voting and not put enough emphasis on unity, collective economics, collective community unity, the establishment of strategies and agendas We have sitting up and we have sit up and we have voted. Let me give you a little piece of data to kind of give you some insight on where we are and who we are and what's going on. Let me put you up on it. Since the voter rights bill and all the other civil rights legislation that was passed in the early 60s, every presidential cycle since then, all the way up to 2012, the last time that Obama ran for office, Black voting increased. Black voter turnout increased every presidential cycle until we got to 2016, and it dropped, it fell off. Some people are saying it was because Barack Obama wasn't running again, but he was only running in 2 of those cycles, but it increased every cycle up until he ran. So what was the decrease? We have a new generation who simply is not sold on the old way of doing things. We have a new generation that's sitting up and saying, hey, we've done this for 50 to 60 years and we've gotten no return. There's got to be something else we can do. We've been doing this for 60 years and we have nothing to show for it. We literally are moving backwards. That is something that we've got to pay attention to. But when someone sits up and a kid kills 2 people, wounds another person, and the voices of white mainstream America, the voices of white mainstream media literally openly say, I would vote for him for president. Literally, I would vote for this murderer for president. It tells you exactly where they're at and how their minds think. The fact that someone who authored crime legislation that was so poignant and pointed at a particular people and so devastating, the idea and the audacity of that person to tell you face to face bluntly that if you don't vote for him, you're not Black. The fact that the arrogance of that person to sit up and tell you they have a right to define your Blackness based on whether or not you vote for them. When we sit up and we can read, we can sit up and pull up receipts, we can see what you've done since you've been in office, not just in 1994. He was wreaking havoc long before then. In 1977, he sit up and authored a bill and an amendment to a bill that stopped busing of poor Black kids into white schools that would have gave them access to better education. And he openly said that integrating those kids in with those white kids would create a racial jungle, and he didn't want his kids in a racial jungle. And then he comes around and he follows it up with other things. He's openly spoke out. He's never, while Bill Clinton apologized for the crime bill and said that that was one of the poorest marks on his record, Biden hasn't. That is something that we have got to focus on. But this kid goes off. I mean, and then the calmness and the coolness in which he walks by and waves at the police after he shot 3 people. And they wave back at him and keep going. And, you know, he ends up getting in his mom's car, driving back across the state line, going home, going to sleep before he turns himself in the next day, because now they've got video of what went down. We have to be more prepared and aware and pay attention to how things are playing out. We've got to get outside of our emotions. We have to literally sit up and pay attention to what and how is happening. not on how we feel about something, but what we can actually truly verify. We've got to be willing that when we read something, no matter how diametrically opposed it is to what we already think and believe, we've got to give it the level of validity that it deserves. We have to stop playing on old ideologies. We've got to stop playing on our emotions. We've got to start living with an understanding that we are going to have to learn how things work. When you learn how things work, then you can take decisive and precise action to counter things that don't serve you. If you don't know how things work, you will be constantly misguided, misled, mishandled, manipulated, and misused. You have to be aware of how things operate. You need a certain level of understanding when it comes to political science, military science, social science, academic science, all these things in which they play us, use us, manipulate us, put us against one another. We have to understand that we cannot operate in a situation in which we are operating outside of the unity in confines of who we are as a people. We are too individual minded. We're too focused on shiny things. We're too focused on what somebody else thinks about us other than us. We're too busy not being. We have to learn how to become. On that note, look, I'm going to get ready to get out of here. One more time, I'm going to share that with you guys. Show some love and give. Again, thank you guys for the love and support that you've shown me over the last 6 months as I go through this process of healing. And so with that being said, I am going to get off of here. There are some other things that I need to do. You guys have a great day.